Hello and welcome to Planning My Escape Episode 5. I'm here in Trinity-Bellwoods Park in Toronto, and I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about what I'm planning on doing next. As you probably know, my end goal is I'd like to do some slow traveling around the world. At the moment, between financial issues and the current political situation, both here in Canada and elsewhere, to be quite frank, the options in terms of traveling by distance are very slim to non-existent. So what I've decided to do instead, sort of thinking out of the box, is we're going to do some time traveling. And we're going to look at Toronto's most famous hidden river, the Garrison Creek. Now, the Garrison Creek is a number of different streams and creeks that formed a ravine watershed, is probably the best way to put it, running from St. Clair West, which is at a much higher elevation. It was a former lip of Lake Iroquois, if I'm not mistaken. And as the water levels receded back to their current place, most of what became downtown Toronto was formed by what was there already, that had been over millennia, basically, been really ground down by miles and miles of ice that were on top of everything here. Like, you have to realize that most of Canada 10,000 years ago was all under ice, as was a good portion of the United States, as was much of Western Europe. And it wasn't until the end of the last ice age that much of this land reappeared from under the massive ice sheet. And in this area, what happened is that it left a mixture of clay, sand, and gravel. So basically, all of the surface had just been ground down by the ice sheet moving all over the place, as they seem to tend to do. And then after that happened, the water, with, obviously there was a series of melts and thaws and melts and thaws. The water then took the path of least resistance down towards the lake and just gouged out portions of the surface. And these ended up becoming the ravines that are seen throughout Toronto, and really, in a lot of ways, fundamentally were fundamental in just how Toronto's laid out, and also the reason for any number of crazy streets in Toronto that you wouldn't expect, because Toronto is a street of grids. The thing is, though, the grids never worked very well with the ravines, right? And all of these old rivers. In some cases, like the Don Valley, they've really come to geographically separate the east from the west in the city, or the Humber, which is also just a really gorgeous sort of parkland that runs out in the west end. But between them, you had what was the Garrison Creek system, and that one ended up, unfortunately, mostly getting buried. And what remains, and what we're going to explore, is a series of parks that run all the way, from up in the St. Clair area, and there are a couple of original ravines that still exist, and then through a series of parks all the way down to the lake shore, and finally Fort York, which was the first military structure that was built in Toronto as a garrison for the town. That's where Garrison Creek comes from. Built to defend Upper Canada at the time against potential American invasion. I haven't decided. We're either going to start at Fort York and work our way up, or start in St. Clair and work our way down. But there's a whole series of parks and other sort of geographical features where you can get an idea of what the actual river was like, including, interestingly enough, 2 separate bridges that were buried as part of the whole area's redevelopment. I also think it's sort of a fascinating look at how sort of the forces of development and real estate affect the geography of an urban area, and what sort of persists over time compared to what gets paved over, and 10 years time you wouldn't know what had been there. Anyway, that's it for now. Expect episode 1 soon. I've already started working on it, and not sure how many episodes it's going to be, but I think it's going to be a fun exercise. I'm also partly doing it because this is something that I would be interested in doing as part of, let's say, slow traveling around the world, because I've always been really interested in history and talking about history, and I think that that's one of the things that makes any place interesting, is knowing what was here before, what's here now, what's changed, and try to imagine what it might be like in another 10,000 years. Anyway, please like, please subscribe, please comment, please interact, because as I said before, the algorithms seem to love that. And take care. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.